Welcome to another video on IT Sec Hub. This is a beginner's tutorial on creating an EC2 instance at AWS, Amazon Web Services. This comprehensive tutorial will guide you step by step to create your first instance in AWS. For such great videos in future, make sure you subscribe to my channel and ring the bell icon. Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud platform, offering over 200 fully featured services from data centers globally. Millions of customers, including the fastest growing startups, largest enterprises, or the leading government agencies, now are using AWS to lower their costs, become more agile, and innovate faster. This video will show you how to create your first EC2 instance in AWS. So this is the beginner's course which will detail you. So the first thing to do is to select the region. So what is a region? Why the region is so important? When you view your resources, you see only the resources that are tied to the region. So this is because regions are isolated from each other and we don't automatically replicate resources across regions. So you can select the region by clicking here and selecting the region that you wish. So here I will select Asia Pacific as my region. So the next thing to do is to create the EC2. So you can type EC2 here to search for the EC2 console. So you can click here and go to EC2 console. So there's another way. So you can go to these 9 dots where the service section is available and click there and go to compute and click on EC2. So you can see there is no running instances, it's 0. But you can see 2 instances available, but they are not running, so we can say that these instances are stopped. If we click on this instance, you can see there are 2 instances and they are stopped. So to create another instance, you can go to launch instance and click. So this will direct you to an interface to give your configuration. So the first thing to do is to give a name to your instance. So we'll give the name as ITSec Hub EC2. Okay, fine. And yes, it's fine. Yes. Now we are creating an EC2. So what is an EC2? So EC2 is a virtual machine deployed in the AWS cloud. To launch an EC2, you can use an AMI. So what is an AMI? AMI is a preloaded base image. So this has operating system, pre-installed software, and sometimes data. So with this base image, you can create an EC2. In AWS, we have a set of AMIs for operating systems, including Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, Apple macOS, Windows, Red Hat, and so on. Also, AWS Marketplace allows external vendors to publish their own AMIs. So we select an AMI to start creating the instance. We will select by browsing more AMIs and we can select this AMI. There are a lot of AMIs available here, but we will go for the first one. We can click on select and it will load the configuration. When it comes to production, you can select any AMI to the panel. The next thing to do is to select the instance type. So the T2 micro is already available, but you can change it by clicking. So then you can go for T1 micro or you can go for T2 nano. But we keep the T2 micro as it is. Here we will select an instance under the T2 family, which is also under the free tier. You can compare the instance typing by clicking on the compare instance type. So the next thing is the key pair. You can use a key pair to securely connect to your instance. You need to ensure that you have access to the selected key pair before you launch the instance. Since we are launching a Linux-based instance, with this key pair we can SSH to it. If this is a Windows-based instance, remote desktop can be used. So we can select any available key pair by click here and it will load the available key pairs. But for this demonstration, I will walk you through to create a new key pair. You can just click on this create new key pair. So you have to give a key pair name. I will give it as ITsec hub key. And the key pair type should be RSA. And since we are going to use putty, we can select .ppk. So click on create key pair. So this will download the key pair to your computer. So you can check it by visiting the download folder. So it's available under the download folder. So the next important thing is the network settings. So you will see a VPC created for you by default. So what is a VPC? VPC is the virtual private cloud, and it is a virtual private network that is logically isolated in the AWS cloud. This is more similar to the network you have in your traditional data center. So you can edit your network configuration. So the VPC is selected by default. The subnet is 178.31.0.0 with the 16 as the net mask or the subnet. So you can change the subnet if you want. So there will be 3 subnets available. Since the subnet mask is 16, so for this demo we'll go for the first one. Since we want to remotely connect to the instance, we have to keep the auto assign public IP enabled. If you don't want to connect to the instance remotely, you don't have to keep this enabled, but you can disable this. But for this demonstration, we have to keep this enabled. So the next thing is the firewall. This is where you specify the access rule to your EC2. You can allow the access or block the access to secure your EC2. This is also called the security group in AWS. We will see how to create the security group. Or else you can select an existing security group by clicking, and the available security groups are these 3. But for the demonstration, we will create a security group. So the security group name. So it's ITsec hub sec group, and we will copy it, and for the description we can paste it for the identification purpose, and then the inbound security rules. So the SSH port is enabled. Since we need to access our EC2 remotely, we will allow the SSH, and you can keep the source type anywhere. But this is not recommended as you are allowing to SSH to your instance from anywhere. But later on you can limit the access, and since this is a demo, we will just keep as it is. Now the final thing, to add the storage to your EC2. So by default it is selected as 8 GB, but for free tier instances you can go up to 30 GB. So we will make this to 30, and then the configuration is done. So the summary is displayed here. So the number of instances is 1, and the other details of this instance is given below. So if you change this instance to 2, what will happen is it will ask to consider the auto scaling factor. So for this demonstration, I will keep this as 1, and later on in another video I will detail about the auto scaling. Now you can launch your instance. So the instance is creating, and it displayed the message as success. So you can view the launch log, and all the steps are succeeded. Now we will go to the EC2. So this is the EC2 we just created. So this is the instance ID of that. So the status of this instance is running, and the instance type is T2 micro, and you have a public IP of 52.76.35.125, and the security group name is there, ITsec hub group, and the key name is there, and the launch time and date is there. So if you want to get more details about this instance, you can just click on this, and it will display all the relevant details: the public IP, the private IP assigned, and the DNS, the instance status of it, if there's IAM role, the IAM role, the security, networking information, all are given. So we'll see how to connect to this EC2. Now we connect to this EC2 through SSH. So we use putty to SSH to this instance. So I have already downloaded this putty into my computer, but if you don't have putty, you can just you can search for putty. So this is the download link to get the putty downloaded. Through this link you can download the putty and install it. So since I have downloaded the putty, I am not going to download it again, but instead I will use my already installed putty. So this is my putty. So there are some keys already available. What we will do is we will go to SSH. This is under the connection. So select SSH and go to auth. Then you have your key already downloaded in your download folder. So you go to download folder and the key is there. So what you have to do is you have to import. So click on auth, browse for the key, take it, and then go to session, click on session, Then the IP address. So how to find the IP address to connect to the EC2? So you can go to this EC2. Then you have this public IP address. This is 52.76.35.125. So this is changed every time if you reboot the EC2. So you can copy this address. Okay. Then paste it here. And you can give a name to this session. We'll see ITSec Hub EC2. So you can save it. Now if you want, you can close it and re-login again. So we'll go to putty. So you can see that the ITSec Hub is saved here. So you can load it and open a session. Click on accept. Now the username to log into the EC2. So how to find this username? So when you go to instance, and if you select this instance, you can see this connect button. So if you go to connect button, under EC2 instance connect, you can see the username for the particular instance. So it is EC2-user. So we give the username as EC2-user and click enter. So it's authenticated. So we'll see this is the correct instance that we want to connect. So we will give ifconfig. So this will show the private address of the EC2 that we are in. So it's 172.31.29.108.102. So we'll go to our instance and check for the private address. So the private address is this. So it's 172.31.29, 31.29 and 102.102. So the both are same. So we know that we have connected to the correct EC2. So this is how we create an EC2 and we connect to the EC2 through SSH. And we use putty to connect as the SSH client. So we will meet up with another YouTube video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe it.